storytelling is better through teamwork. Even our own stories can be improved by teamwork. And this is something that runs counter to the way I grew up. I came up with the idea that of writers as they sit in a room by themselves, you gather your research, you distill it, you get it down, you refine it, and then you get it out to the world. But the truth is very different. And so I'm going to share 3 stories about how I came to learn that to improve my storytelling through other people. They all use other people through interviews, through other skills, visual skills, and through teaching. So first, interviews. I teach here in the science writing program of Johns Hopkins. And one piece that we always include is interviewing sources for a range of things. And typically, students don't want to do that, to spend time. The idea for them typically is that writing means you practice writing and revising, and that will improve. And the idea of arranging an interview and going out and having this conversation, recording it, transcribing it, and then sort of sifting it for some bits, it seems like a lot of investment for not a big amount of return. And yet, and so often they will ask, well, can I interview my spouse? Or can I interview my partner on something I already know just to get this out of the way? And really, that's a missed opportunity, I tell them. The fact is that telling this story is, they far from being just a big investment, it's a big, makes the storytelling easier. If you bring someone else into your story, you get another voice, you get other experiences, you get other context that help you tell your article or your essay. It makes the lift of the storytelling much lighter for you. Still, I completely get that it can be very uncomfortable to do that. And that's how I found myself in Texas a number of years ago with a small documentary crew. We set up, I was going across a city I didn't know, Houston, to go pick up an interview subject that I'd never met. And I wasn't sure how they were going to contribute to our story. So this felt very much out there. I was wondering, on the drive across Houston as it was getting dark, why am I doing this? And the fact is, the interviewee is a well-known national historian. Douglas Brinkley had carved out time at the end of a day of teaching at Rice University to make time for us. And so we'd set this spot. And so I drove across town. I, being the writer, that was my designated job, to be driver and go pick him up. And I get to the campus, and it's dark, and he comes out after classes, and he has a jacket in one hand and a can of Red Bull in the other. And he says, "This is dinner." And so we get in the car. He's seeming like it is at the end of the day. My doubts are still there as far as, well, what is he bringing? He's basically a presidential historian. We're talking about a wide range of people in the 1930s, Americans. How is this going to help? I'm concerned that our scarce grant money is going to be used up on an interview that we won't even be able to use. But he sits down in front of the camera, and suddenly he is full of a passion for this period, for the movement that we're describing, this experiment. And we see that he's bringing both stories and context and analogies into the picture in a way that we had not anticipated. And so when the film comes out, he is a great voice in our piece. See, there he is on the right. And it is, if I had any doubts beforehand in terms of the benefits of kind of reaching out beyond what I expect to be useful for an interview for stories, that helped convince me otherwise. Well, so flash forward a number of years, and I'm finishing my next book. It's a story about 3 families during World War II and how they get caught up in the war in different ways. 3 generations of immigrant family, and some get caught up in profiteering, some through espionage, some by having all 4 sons drafted and sent to the front lines. And so it's a big story, but I want to be able to find a way to sort of tell at least an introduction to it in a short video online. So I thought an animation would help get that across. There was one problem. I didn't know how to make animations. I tried with some of the programs, I couldn't do it. So I reached out to a young team in Baltimore called Clean Cuts. And I knew from my documentary experience, well, I can script a short piece. I can give them the audio from my interviews with people who hadn't been heard before. And they could help me sort of get that together, gave them some ideas of visuals. I felt like we were in a pretty good place. So the animator took it. 4 weeks go by. She comes back with a draft, and I'm stunned. She has taken what I've given to them, and she has actually visually made a more organic storytelling approach, and she furthermore has taken a step back and seen some of the parts of the ways of conveying the character that I hadn't anticipated. I left out some of the audio that she brought back and made it actually a more heartfelt short video. And so this relationship that I thought was going to be less of a full partnership benefited by having that teamwork and being open to having a much fuller partnership than I expected. Well, finally, I'd like to talk a little bit about teaching. And of course, it's no secret that teaching is collaborative. That it's, the evidence, the more interactive that you make the classroom is, the more successful it is, the more successful the learning is. And so I typically invite other writers to come to speak with the class. So there's more interaction. They get, again, different voices. Usually it's authors. Sometimes it's a fiction author speaking about something they've written related to science. Sometimes it's a radio producer. But usually it's somebody who identifies as a writer. Dr. David Kaplan is a physicist here at Johns Hopkins. He doesn't identify as a writer. He doesn't identify as a filmmaker either, although he's made a film. He calls himself a physicist. Yet the film he made is called Particle Fever. It's about the physicists who work with the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland. And when I saw the film in a theater, I thought, wow, this is the most compelling depiction of science and the scientific process that I've seen in a long time, and of physics ever. And so I thought, well, maybe I should invite him to speak with our class. So I did. I reached out in a way that felt very different in terms of having a scientist speak with writing students. And he generously agreed. And so he came and he started telling us about why he made the film. And he said he had all the documentaries he'd seen about science, typically they felt dead to him. They didn't capture the passion of scientists debating ideas and exploring and not knowing what the next step is, the uncertainty involved. And he said what he wanted from the film was for viewers to fall in love with these characters. He basically introduced 3 scientists from different backgrounds, and he wanted viewers to get the sense of them and the excitement of the scientific process. And so a light bulb went off as he was saying these things for us in the class. here, this scientist presenting his work was saying that actually the emotion came first for him in getting this story across, and the content was secondary in that sense. It followed. Well, being writers, we asked about his audience. We imagined his audience would be. And Dr. Kaplan hated that question. He said a good story would find its own audience. And as his work worked out that way, it's still a good question to ask. And then finally, he actually kind of challenged us. He said, talked about the pitfalls that science writers typically fall into in interviewing scientists. He said often the biggest temptation is to ask scientists to speak in simple terms, to think about the audience while they're on camera. And he says, that's too hard. You get somebody talking about their work, you want them to speak about it in a way that you capture the fire in their eyes. If they're trying to edit themselves while they're talking about their work, you lose that fire. So just let them go. Let them talk about what they're working on, and let it go for 15, 20 minutes. It's digital now. It's not as expensive as film used to be. So just you can go back later with a graphic or something and explain the 2 or 3 main terms that a viewer needs to know. But let the passion of the interviewee drive the storytelling. And it was remarkable that so here he was sharing this deep storytelling truth in a way that I would not have gotten and hadn't gotten from other guests that I've had come in. So reaching across different skill sets really opened things up in ways that I had not anticipated. And really, Kaplan said, at the end of the day, his advice to storytellers, science writers, and scientists was the same. Allow yourself not to understand what the hell is going on. And that's the point I'll leave with you today. Storytelling does take work. Telling your own stories does brainstorming and rehearsal. But expand the range of people involved. Get other voices, other skills, even other perspectives on the work, and allow yourself at some point not to understand what the hell is going on.